Hello, everybody. Joe DeLore here, Analog Man Cave, and session one is on the books. In the books, whatever the hell. There's a book involved somewhere. Yeah, this one, 5e hack. We had our first session the other day, and it worked out pretty damn well. All right, so I figured I'd go over with you sort of what I do to prep for it. All right, and what I aim for, and I'll tell you how it worked out. All right, so before we get into that, though, please do like and subscribe. All right. It helps a lot, guys, if you can. As I put the banner across the bottom there for y'all to see subliminally, actually, if that's really works, if that subliminal shit works, I should just tell you to please give $5,000 super chats to me, but I don't think it works that well. But you can become a member for 99 cents. So subscribe, throw a comment in there, even if it's you suck. All right. I appreciate that. Anyhow, jumping into session one. So the first thing for me, my perspective is prepare, over freaking prepare, because that's kind of how I roll. Right, I always do. Like I said, I'm the guy who, we're playing 3 hours, I got to prep for 12, right? Now fortunately I'm that way with everything. So our session 0.5, which you check that video out, I prepared a little mini dungeon for one of my players for their 0.5. It was never used because he didn't get that far. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll just use it for session one, because it sort of dovetails in nicely. I think that'd be pretty cool. And they didn't get that far again either. So it gives you an idea how much I over prepare for shit. It was cool though, because I have it now for the next session. All right, they're going to go into there and do what they got to do. Right, but before we kicked it off, I wanted to make sure that first thing, location. Right, make sure it's quiet, make sure it's peaceful and all that as best you can. No interruptions. I mean, for God's sakes, just put the freaking cell phones down, that sort of thing. Now that being said, I couldn't do it. Right. Because we had to play with my brothers, because his kids had a big party going on with some friends of theirs and blah, blah, blah. So he wanted to be there to make sure nobody burnt the freaking house down. So we were in one part of the house, they were outside, downstairs a whole bit. So we couldn't actually have that as much as we can. Future sessions will be at my place where it's just me and nobody else, right, with those two guys. So that's what we did. And if we don't have that, it's all right. Roll with the punches. Just try to minimize the distractions and whatnot. But I had to kick off the new campaign with something special, guys. So I bought a bottle of this. This is Blanton's. Any bourbon people out there, we each had a drink, so that gives you an idea how much. It was a decent sized drink. Yeah, man, this isn't cheap. This is like good bourbon. It's like $95 for this freaking bottle of bourbon. So we Charlie had one glass each. It was like $10 a glass just on the on that front. But in any case, it was nice. So we started off with a little toast and start the new campaign off, because there's always booze involved with D&D. It's funny. I some people in comments said, "No, we never do drink during D&D." I'm like, what the fuck? What? Jesus, man! Ever since college, we've been doing that, so it's kind of different to me to hear that. So pick the location, prepare. Make sure it's peace and quiet. Have a toast, right? Start off the new campaign, and next, how you bringing the people together? Because as you saw in my other video on session 0.5, I like to do an individual session with each PC or each player, at the very least. I've had multiple PCs. And give them some background, give them some kicking the tires time, help them figure out what their characters work and all that, and give them some information coming out of it that will help them, right? And I gave each of them a little bit of that. And so it's like, well, how do you bring the group together? In this case, it was funny. I came up with the entire way to do it way earlier than anything else in this campaign. I knew how I was going to do it. I had the cleric was going to come across my brother's character's father in an alley who got beaten up, and he lost the family ring. Piece of crap copper ring. Has been in the family for 7 generations, and I was going to have him tell the tale like from Pulp Fiction. I had this uncomfortable hunk of that little watch up my ass for 2 years. It's going to be one of those tales of, oh my God, it's this ring. This is the same equivalent. Generations of ancestors fought for this thing and kept it, even though it's not worth much. But it's lost now, and they cut my thumb off or my pinky off to take it, or whatever it was. This, and so it was a whole thing. But what I did was I had Pete's character, when I described them as like a half elf old man, ancient looking guy. It's not what my brother's characters look like. They're humans. I wanted to throw him off because I didn't want him to, he didn't know anything about the family ring. This is the first time I'm introducing this thing, right? And so I brought them, through that whole process of, oh my God, I'm helping. And the guy's like, well, just get me home, get me home. Next scene, all right, so I'm cut to my brother now. So, all right, so you are in your house waiting for your father to get home so you could all go celebrate, blah, 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 the whole event that your brother graduated from age school. And you hear him coming up the stairs and the door opens and he's standing there holding a bloody stump of a finger. And there's a dwarf with him. And he was like, what? And I was like, well, yeah, the whole story, it wasn't a half elf, it was your father. Oh, it was all. So there's the hook, Now it's like he's invested instantly because it's like, holy shit, that's my ring. That's my family's ring. 7 generations. Holy crap. That's, plus coincidentally enough, we just watched Pulp Fiction again with my niece about a week or so before. I had the idea like months before that we watched it again. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be so funny. He's going to think I stole it from the movie we just watched, but we had it going already. And so, it's like, oh shit, now we got to get the ring. Oh crap. It's like the family jewels. Really, he lost some research books and this and that of greater value than this crappy ass copper dented ring, but he wants the freaking ring. Right. And so we had to go to where Pete was given his priest, his cleric was given a church in the slums of the slums. And that, like, whatever the worst neighborhood and the worst city in your state or country is, that's where Pete's been given a church, right? And so it's like, hey, congratulations, you're the best you're the highest level graduate with honors, blah blah blah, in your whole priest class. Here's a reward for you. Do well, and you'll have your pick of your duties later on. So he's trying to navigate like the gangs and all that kind of shit, right? The Crips and the Bloods, the equivalent, and that sort of thing. And so it turns out that the father saw the gang symbol, the brand on the wrist that Pete already knew of because of his character's interactions. So he brought something to the table of who took it based on the father's description of the brand, and does the emotional hook already. And so the Pete, his cleric, is like, well, this guy could help me with this negotiation with the gangs, this and that, a little help there. And so they all trudged out to the city and they came across the undead attack from this crypt or whatever the hell is going on underground, which is the thing I prepared and over prepared, right? So they beat the undead and they did a negotiation. All right. And this leads me to the next thing on initial, session ones. This goes back to what I said in session 0.5. What you want to do is you want to sit down and be prepared, but be prepared to roll with the punches, go with the flow, right? As my analogy I said before in the 0.5 video, all about, your players are your cue ball on a pool table, and, there's 15 balls on the table. That's all the ideas and plans and NPCs and people, places, and things that you have in your head. As soon as the players interact with that, it all breaks up, and who knows what the hell is going to happen. As long as you understand the interactions between all the other balls, you'll be able to know, and roll with the punches and go with the flow. So in my head, I'm preparing for scenarios, right? If they go and fight this guy and try to get it back, what does that mean? Immediate and short-term and long-term future, right? How does that affect the other gang relations in the slums there, right? There's 3 slum areas. How is it going to affect the gang relations? What's going to, so all this stuff's going through my head. And if they don't do that, what if they negotiate? What if they handle it, differently? What if they don't want to get into a fight? And that's what they ended up doing. So I had, preparation in my head for what if they negotiate? What does that mean? Do they form a bond? Do they, what if they don't save the town? What if too many people die from the undead attack as they were approaching there? What if they don't do it well? How does that affect like the morale of the people? And because Pete's cleric is trying to get sort of the people on his side and build a congregation and that sort of thing, right? And so what does that mean? So all these little things are all the what ifs. That's what I'm doing. I'm what ifing everything. I'm what ifing. And because I have a web in my head, and you pull one little strand of the web, and a lot of other things move with it. That's how I roll. I know other people improv the whole goddamn thing, and I can't stand that, because as a player, I want to know how my actions will affect things. I want to be able to deliberate and do what ifs as a player and as a DM. But if I'm a player in a game, I want to what if the hell out of it. I want to understand my actions. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And if I do this and I do that, I want to be able to predict what's going to happen so that I have agency. All right. Otherwise, if the DM just makes this shit up as you go, there's no agency. So I run the game that I would like to play with agency. All right. So I'm what ifing everything. And so that's pretty much it. So basically just reviewing here. So you over prepare, you have a good location, have a toast here, bring people together with some emotional content, that's from that Bruce Lee movie. What was it? Enter the Dragon, emotional content, right? Bring them together with some level of emotional involvement in it. And there's your plot hook, and everybody's invested. And as long as, all the players are helping each other with it, whatever it is they're going to do, it helps everybody. And so there's invested interest. They're not going to sit there and deliberate whether they should do something or not, right? And then once you get into it, you roll with the punches. Now, another aspect of rolling with the punches is, all right, they discovered that crypt I was talking about, or whatever the hell it is underneath there, and they're like, well, shit, big undead incursion, and then the shitty lands of the poor people, and this and that. What do we do? All right, well, let's go and talk to the church. Well, surely they will think that this is a major threat and have people come out and help and eliminate the threat. No, 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 because you're the goddamn adventurers. You're not going to have anybody do this for you, okay? So you need to set the tone, all right? You need to set the tone. It's like Daddy's not going to come and help. Gandalf is not going to come and help you. Kelvin is not going to come and help. Belminster is not going to come and help. Bigby, Rary, Tensor, they're not going to come and help. You're on your fucking own. Mordenkainen is not there. All right. That's what they need to know. Even though they're part of an organization, this is the most low level. There's some undead in an area of the town that nobody gives a shit about. Why would they send resources? Motherfucker, you are the resource. You are there. And that's what I pretty much made clear to them. Set the tone of the campaign, right? It's like going to the prison. You know, they always say, you pick a fight with the biggest guy and beat the fuck out of him. Same thing here. You're setting a tone in prison. You're setting a tone in the campaign. All right. Where, you're on your own for the most part. I mean, if it was a devil incursion, yeah, the church is all involved. A couple goddamn zombies and a couple skeletons, fucking fix it. That's what you got sent there for, and that's pretty much how it was going to, I knew they would try to do that shit, and I knew how it was going to go. All right. So is that railroading? No, that is setting the tone, because I know how I want the campaign to run. All right. So set the tone at the outset and let them know this is how it's going to be. This is what you're going to be up against. You're pretty much on your own unless it's some extraordinary thing. And you can reach out for, could at least have a healing potion? No, they're fucking expensive. They're not these cheap ass little 50 gold piece things that everybody has in every corner store. In my campaign, magic is very, very, very rare. That includes healing potions. So no, you're not gonna get a healing potion. No holy water. No, nothing. Get out there. You're on your own, bitch. That's the old school approach to Joe's 5e hack, a traditional 5e game, where you could, as a healing potion of healing is on every, you could buy it at a certain flat price and all that. Yeah, no, that's not how I roll. It's an old school game, old school mentality involved in here. So you're on your own, go do it yourself. Okay. So that's pretty much my approach to things as illustrated through the adventure I ran. I'll probably give you some updates. Let me know if you like this. I mean, in the past, I never really had my channel going when I was running games per se, or a campaign. So I don't know if you're interested in this shit. If you are interested, please click like, subscribe, and comment. And in the comments, let me know if you want to hear more about how the campaign runs. I'm not just going to talk about, they fought this and they did that. I'm going to try to give you insights as to, here's what I learned. Here's what I figured out. Here's some ideas I got from it that might help you in your game. Like I did here, illustrated with examples from the campaign. So let me know if you guys want to hear that stuff. All right. I appreciate it. If not, I'll probably move it to the Patreon for people who do want to hear about it. But if you do want to hear it on this channel, let me know. All right, guys, and click like, subscribe, throw a comment in there, and we'll talk to you soon, folks. All right, take it easy. Bye-bye.